Hey guys, welcome to Hammond's Hobbies. My name's Glenn, and today I wanted to have a chat about how the F1 2020 season finished in the last race in Abu Dhabi. But before we get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's been hitting the like button and also subscribing. Obviously, I don't want it to stop there though. If you could just keep continuing to smash that like button up for us, really do appreciate it. Just hit that little thumbs up button. It helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to see more content like this and you want to see stuff relating to F1 cards and the races in particular, then make sure you click subscribe button. You'll see more content from myself. Right, so Abu Dhabi 2021, Max versus Lewis, Red Bull versus Mercedes. How did it all go down? Now, the way that I just worded that sums up what I think has just happened. I think, and before I get into it, I want to say that, yeah, I am a Lewis fan. I also really like Max Verstappen, but I've been supporting Max for a long time. As the Mercedes jacket will give it away. But I am clever enough to know when to wear my Lewis hat and when to take it off and be subjective and actually look at the race as a whole and the season as a whole. And I think this has been one of the most tense, interesting title fights I've witnessed. And the fact that it went down to the last race on equal points, both of them qualified first and second. Then it went down to the last lap of the race. Insane. All the different outcomes that were possible, all the did not finishes, all the second places, first places, thirds, tenths, penalties, all the different ways that this season could be added up, and it went down to that. But obviously the main talking point, the race, Abu Dhabi. This is my issue with the race as I see it, and if you agree with me or disagree with me, please comment down below. Don't just sit there and talk to yourself. Comment down below saying, Glenn, I agree with you, or Glenn, no, I disagree with you. I want to hear everyone's point of view. And this isn't me. I don't want to get involved in this whole Lewis, you're either a Lewis fan or you're a Max fan. That's it. No, I'm a F1 fan. I've watched F1 for just as much time before Lewis existed in F1 than I have since Lewis has been in it. So I have full ability to review an F1 race outside of I just want Lewis to win. So I actually think that Max, he done everything that he could. He gave it 100% all the way around, flat out. Couldn't have done any more. And when an opportunity comes up, he's there. And when he takes that opportunity, he's very good at executing it. Very, very good overtaker, very aggressive on the track. Something that I think the F1 drivers either haven't seen for a while since their karting days, or they've never seen before, in the sense that he almost has this I'll do whatever it takes to keep ahead mentality. Whereas obviously over the years, Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso, they all have an understanding of oh, okay, he's done me there. He's got the fresher tyres and he's gone around the outside, but I'm going to make it difficult. I'm going to do the switcheroo and I'm going to throw a fake and all. They do all of those sort of tactics, but obviously now we've got Max just going almost for a mindset of I'm either going to crash out here or I'm going to overtake. They're my two options. I have to hope that the guy that I'm about to do it to backs out of it. And that's fine until Max comes up against someone who won't back out of it. Then there will be a lot of crashes, a lot of do not finishes. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, Lewis said it a few in the conferences, so he's obviously aware of it. So this isn't me criticising him, putting him down. Lewis said, every time me and Max come together, it's always me that backs out of it. I'm always the one to. I mean, even this race, Abu Dhabi, and I actually think Lewis should have give that place back. That's my opinion. Should have gave that place back. But Lewis had no choice. Obviously, when Max came, it was either Lewis was going to hit him or he had to go off the track. There's Lewis's two options. Now, if Lewis thought in his head, no, I'm going to stay where I am, Max would have hit him, and then it's in the gods of the races who would come out on top of that. Max could have reared off to the left, spun round, and gone to 10th. Lewis might have got a puncture later down the line. It's just it's pure luck then. And I think when Max comes up against someone that is like that, like, no, if he's going to overtake me and he wants to barge into me, then that's fine. Let him do it. When he comes up against that, I bet a lot of people will be criticising his driving then. They'll say, oh, why did you do that? Why did you risk your whole race just for one overtake? And then he'll have to go, oh, that's how I've always done it. And then people may appreciate, I suppose, the Lewis Hamiltons of the world that would move out of the way. So I think Max done really well. I think he's super aggressive with his overtaking. And I think that it's not actually a criticism of Max's. I actually think if that's how he's going to race, to beat him, you have to then accept that, and then you have to adapt your style. So I think it's actually saying that all the other drivers, I'm not saying Max has to change his style. I'm saying all the others have got to change their style. They've got to change their style to beat this guy. Because otherwise, when he comes up against him versus Charles Leclerc, or Lando Norris or George Russell, if they have the mindset of, oh, he's going to crash into my car, I better back out of it, but he's going to win every time. He's going to win because you've just conceded to him. So that's my take on Max's overtaking style and his aggression that we've seen throughout the year, not just this race. It did seem like, though, criticising Lewis, that once that safety car instance, and we'll get into that in a second, that's my main point that I want to get across, the safety car bit. I'll get onto that in a second. It seemed like when Max did go for an overtake on Lewis on the last lap, it's like Lewis left the door open and he didn't want to fight him, he didn't want to tap him, he didn't want to get involved in it. I don't know, he sort of, not let him, but he did his best, obviously. And once Max got past, Lewis did actually try and come back and actually overtake him again. But there's a difference between if Max, like we saw, obviously, in some of the other races, when Max is ahead and you're trying to overtake him, it's almost like he has a no, you're not getting past me mentality no matter what. He will just keep going left until someone's right on, basically pushing him off the track, and then say, well, yeah, I was just defending, or that's racing, or, whereas other drivers will go right to the edge of the track and just leave enough space just for one car to fit through. So there's a slight difference. And again, all the other drivers need to look at that, and they need to adapt their style again. But it just seemed like Lewis just almost conceded. That's what it looked like to me. I've watched him obviously since day one in F1. I've watched him overtake God knows how many people over the years. I've seen him win so many races, pivotal moments, key points where he's won seasons because of overtake. So he is an amazing overtaker. He is an amazing racer. I'm not saying that. It just seemed like he just lost the wheel at that point. It looked like he knew, like, oh, he's done me, and he sort of, his head dropped almost like a bit. That's my take on it. Right, now, so we move on to the safety car. The safety car side of it. This is my question I want to ask you as the viewer. And again, don't just sit there in silence. Comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you. My question to you watching this is, that safety car at the end of the race, if that was the first race of the year, say we're back at, I don't know, Australia or wherever it's going to be, a safety car comes out, there's only a few laps left of the race, would that have gone the same way? Would they have said, right, okay, no cars to overtake, and then all of a sudden quickly change their mind and go, oh, actually, just the cars in between the first two drivers, they can go past? Would that same decision have been made in any other race. No. You're sitting there, and if you're going, yes, yes, it would. No. I've watched Formula One for 25 years plus, and I have never seen a steward or race director state one thing and then make it very, very clear and very obvious. The only reason for this decision is because it's the final lap of the final race with the two main guys, first and second. Would he have made that same decision if Max was third? Would he have made the same decision if Max was fifth? No, he wouldn't have done. So in that regard, instead of him doing what's fair and consistent, say like a set rule, he actually amended the rules in his opinion, how he sees it, to increase the spectacle and the drama and the race overall. So that means at that point it literally was a winner takes all race. It was just whoever, they might as well have just done that one race, because the way I see it is the F1 calendar is made up of, for this year, 22 races. They all go round and race around those 22 races fairly and within the code, if you like. And then at the end of those 22 races, they add up all the points from every race, and then they work out who, on average, is the best. That's how I see. You divide the points up over, not average, but overall. The overall winner of the year based on the amount of points they scored over 22 races. This race was not done like that. It was seen as, right, we're going to make exceptional changes to the rules because this is a one-of-one race. So that's my issue with it, is that at that point in time, it was not part of the 22 races. And I don't want you to listen to this, especially if you're maybe not English speaking and not realising my tone and how I'm trying to get it across. I'm not saying that, this wasn't part of the championship, so it don't count, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is that the rules should be exactly the same over 22 races. Whoever has the most points out of those 22 races is the world champion. What they done in this race was they said, right, okay, they're both equal on points. So all the races before have been disregarded. So no matter what the precedent is for a set rule or how we normally conduct ourselves, that all goes out the window. This is a one-off race where it's equal points. It's the two drivers qualified first and second. What we're going to do is when something comes up, we are going to make decisions based on what would increase the spectacle even more. And that is my issue with this race. That is my issue with that decision. That is not Lewis's fault, and it's not Max's fault. Once that decision was made, Max fully capitalised on what was available to him. So he, in that regard, does deserve the championship. On Lewis's side, those decisions should not have been made like that in the first place. So therefore, he would be champion. But like I say, I do think that Lewis should have gave the position back. Again, was that a decision that was made to increase the spectacle between Max and Lewis? So again, I disagree with that. So actually, my issue is not with either of the drivers. It's actually with the way the race was directed. And it was directed as a almost like fairy tale film, like a make-believe story. And a lot of the pundits and commentators were saying, you couldn't write this stuff. You couldn't make it up. If it was in a film, it'd be too cheesy. It would be over the top. You'd think, oh, that never happened in real life. but it did. It happened in real life, like, because that's the way they directed it to go. So I find that very hard to swallow. It sort of almost put a taint on the whole year. To me personally, and I feel it's unfair on all the other drivers. What about the person who came third or fourth or fifth? If there was any cars in between them, would they have been let go? Like, would they have said, okay, go on, you can go as well, because fourth and fifth are fighting for position. It literally was directed at, okay, you got the number one driver, number two driver. Let's make them race. But if they'd said that at the beginning, if they'd said, look, we are going to direct this race as a no holds barred final of finals, first to knock out, first to score 10 goals or whatever type thing, then great, but obviously Mercedes made their decision on whether to pit Lewis or not based on the fact that normally what would happen is that race would have ended under the safety car. So they've made their decision on that. The people behind obviously thought, let's take the gamble, let's pit, even though we'll be so many 30 seconds behind Lewis or whatever it was. But obviously that didn't happen. So they've gained an advantage from the director of the race, Michael Massey, deciding that he wanted the race to go right to the last, to the checkered flag. So that's my issue. That is my issue with the race. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment down below. Like I say, I'm not saying that Max didn't deserve it. I'm not saying Lewis should have won. I'm just saying, if that safety car happens on the first race of the year or 3 races in, would the same decision have been made? And I bet you're all sitting there now going, no, it wouldn't have done. And that proves my point. That expresses the point I'm trying to make. Not Max versus Lewis. It's more of the race direction in Abu Dhabi versus the race direction in all the other races. So that's my point. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment down below. I really want to get some conversation going with this. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts. Obviously, make sure you smash up the like button. You can always follow me on social medias. Obviously, Hammond's Hobbies on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and obviously my eBay store if you want to purchase any spares or second-hand cards that I have of F1 in particular. Quite a lot of people bought cards. Talking about the card market, I've barely seen any Max Verstappen cards come up for sale for the last year or so. And now, obviously, because Max is a world champion, everyone on the Facebook groups all of a sudden were trying to sell Max Verstappen cards, PSA 10s, Sapphires, 1 of 5s, 1 of 10s, 1 of 99s. They all went up for sale yesterday. All at obviously massively inflated prices, and that was obviously the plan from the beginning once they got hold of those cards. So I'm glad that's paid off for them if people have bought them. But I don't know. It's a catch-22. I'm a Lewis fan. I want to collect one of every Lewis card. So if now everyone's chasing Max Verstappen cards, then I'm going to buy the Lewis Hamiltons, and hopefully they'll drop in price. On the flip side, I need to complete my Sapphire set, which I'm just missing a Max Verstappen. And I also need to complete my Match Attack set, which I'm just missing a Max Verstappen. So it's probably going to cost me a couple of £100 more to complete those sets now, because of this result. Again, I'm not too fussed either way. It just means I'll probably save a couple of £100 on quite a rarer Lewis Hamilton card, if you like, because everyone now wants Max, and something that obviously has concerned a few people is that in the race interview after, Lewis said, "Oh, we'll see about next year," which would imply that he's thinking about not coming back. Now, I assume he's going to say that just for attention, just for publicity, because that's what he likes. Why not? He's a superstar. But if he does retire, that will be a massive shock. Lewis has been in Formula One since 2007, I believe. Obviously, winning the title in 2008. So for me, he's been in it now for what? He's been in it for, what is that? That's coming up for 20 years. 14. 14 years he's been in F1. I've been watching F1 since I was about between the age of 8 and 10. So let's say 10. Up until 2007, I was about 18. So I'd been watching it for 8 years without Lewis in it. I used to support David Coulthard. Obviously, he was the only British driver on the grid at the time. Mika Hakkinen, I was a McLaren fan. Obviously, it was McLaren Mercedes. They obviously had the silver, silver car. And then, yes, obviously, and then Lewis signed for McLaren at a very young age, and he came on the scene a few years later. Never been a big fan of Alonso, never been a huge fan of Michael Schumacher, although, I do like, when I was growing up, he was just the guy you hated, because he won every week. And now so that's why I get it. I get why there's such pent up demand for someone else to win the F1 championship other than Lewis, because unless you're a Lewis fan, it's pretty dire to watch like 10 years of Formula One and just watching Lewis Hamilton win a lot of races or come in second or overtaking your favourite driver over and over again. So I get it, because I used to feel the same about Michael Schumacher. Looking back at it now, obviously, I wish Michael Schumacher all the best, and I hope he gets well and gets better, and we can have a conversation with him one day. But yeah, that's my take on the race. That's my take on the F1 as a season. Although, saying that, whether you agree or disagree with me, I think we can all agree the winner of the F1 2021 season is all of us. All of us F1 fans have been waiting, just oozing for the prospect of Lewis versus another team that has an equally as fast car with a decent driver in it, in, say, Max Verstappen. And this year we finally got it. We've had glimpses of it over the last 2 or 3 years, with Max winning the odd race here or there or coming second. But this year we actually got Max versus Lewis. And obviously it will always be remembered in history that Max, done him overall. But I think we can all agree that could have gone either way. So that says to me that Max is at the top of his game, Lewis is at the top of his game, and then if you put them both on the track in equal cars, then it just goes down to how the dice are rolled, and those dice could roll in favour of Max sometimes, and they could roll in Lewis sometimes. And on average, if there's 22 or 23 races, then you have to say whose dice got rolled the best over the year. That is the overall champion. And that's what we've seen in this final race. The dice got rolled on the last lap, and it was in Max's favour. That's it from me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've liked that little F1 chat. If you have, comment down below, like the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.